My name is Miles Calhoun, and this is my final project on the Book of Phoenix. My thesis statement is the repetitive foreshadowing of Phoenix's escape and symbolism of her being trapped helped form a theme that was very similar to slavery. We are oftentimes mentally confined to a certain lifestyle and ideas and think them to be normal unless we are exposed to something new. Phoenix says that I'd never known any other place. The 28th floor of Tower 7 was my home. Yesterday, I realized it was a prison too. Just how in the days of slavery, if a slave was born into slavery, they knew nothing new. That was the life they grew accustomed to because they never had any prior knowledge of being free back in Africa or just being free in general. This relates back to my thesis statement because it's a direct correlation to slavery. Freedom and pursuit of happiness lies within every human being and sometimes has to be taken. When, when Phoenix was sitting down and talking to Saeed, he asked, you read all these books, why don't you feel rebellion in your heart? Don't you ever dream of getting out of here? This foreshadows, this is what I mean when I talk about the foreshadowing and the symbolism helps form a theme of slavery. Because he's asking, like, you read all these books, why don't you feel rebellion in your heart? Don't you ever want to get out of here? Is in this foreshadowing of her escape, because he's talking about rebellion. He's like trying to push her to think that way. This foreshadowing her escape is kind of similar to how when another slave would challenge another slave, thinking mentally about escaping. When people are oppressed, excuse me, when people are oppressed and restricted so long, they'd rather die doing or fighting for something they want. Saeed was in a predicament. He was in a state of mind where, like, he'd rather die on his feet than live on his knees. He knew if he bit that apple, he would die. But he was at a point where he just wanted to die doing something that he wanted. And so he took that apple and died. He took my apple. He took my apple and he ate it. He took my apple. He ate it. This symbolizes freedom. This symbolizes pursuit of happiness. This just symbolizes doing what you want to do. And if you can't do that, sometimes people would rather die than to live in a confined space mentally and physically. Phoenix was at a point where she needed to take a chance rather than just surrendering. The quote right here says, if I went nowhere, I was caught. If I went down, I might be caught, but I might escape too. This was at a time when she had to make a critical decision, and she chose to fight for freedom. She chose to push the limit. She chose to take a chance and take a chance to see what was outside of Tower 7, what was outside of Floor 8, because she knew that it was just more to life. And she took that chance. She knew if she stood there, she was going to get caught. So she was like, I might as well just take a chance anyway and escape rather than surrendering. Knowledge is power. And sometimes the knowledge you're taking in is watching fears of your eyes open up. These paper books were limited, old, and difficult to read, as I couldn't turn the pages as quickly as I could with my e-reader, and they could now easily monitor what I was reading. And now, like with Phoenix kind of causing up a stir, and they realizing that she's starting to open up her eyes, they give her paper books, as she's saying they were harder to read, and now they can monitor what she was reading. In the days of slavery, slaves weren't even allowed to read. They didn't want to open their minds. They didn't want them to get any knowledge because then again, knowledge is power. And so oftentimes you're monitored and watched because people fear you gaining power. We are oftentimes destined to do something great and others can see it before we can see it in ourselves. When Muo looked at Phoenix, he said, it looks like your skin is nothing but a veil over something greater. He mused after an appraising look. A lot of times we are destined to do really great